Yeah,
I'm not as familiar with Common Core, so I really
I'll address
can't
that one.
make an opinion on that. And Larry, maybe you followed it a lot
Yeah.
more. I do think, and I'll give you, an example in terms of something that I experienced when my oldest son, who is 30 now, when he was going from elementary school to middle school, and we lived in Los Angeles at that time, and LA or California was just putting vouchers on the ballot. And there was a big onslaught of money and that was coming in from the teachers union, principals union, janitors union. They had separate unions in California. And they were all opposed to it. They ran commercials saying that if with vouchers, then you could have a witch school. Witches could create their own school and get tax dollars. I mean, they went crazy. They spent something like 10 to 1, and it didn't pass by not that much. And I remember my son, they changed from junior high to middle school. So my son, which we thought he'd have another year in an elementary school that we felt comfortable with, and we lived right in the city. But it changed. The next year he was going to go to the local middle school, formerly junior high school, which was a terrible school. And I called the school district and I said, we don't want our son to go to that school. We want him to go to one of the magnet schools. How can we get him into magnet schools? And the way LA was set up, they did like this racial balancing. And because the majority of the city or the public schools are either black or Hispanic, if you were black or Hispanic, you had a hard time getting into the magnet schools. So the guy's talking about, well, we want all the schools to be as good as the magnet schools. I said, listen, I don't have time for that. I said, I don't have 2, 3, 5 years for this school to get better. I said, my son is going to go to a school that he's either going to be a victim or a victimizer. It's one of the two at that school. The gangs are running rampant. I said, he's either going to be in one crowd or the other. I said, it's not like when I was a kid that sometimes they didn't bother people who were studying. So I said, but you want us in this district. I said, because I care about my son and the education. I said, but I have a choice. I can move or I can send my kid to a private school. Either way, you lose us in this school in the district. Now, he ended up getting to magnet school. We moved back east a little while later. But I say that because for where I live now, Howard County, our schools are very good. We don't have much concern there.
They're the best schools in the country.
Vouchers are not going to be an issue. But if you're sitting in some sections of Baltimore City or some sections inside the Beltway, Prince George's County, you may want that choice to send your kid to another school, but you don't have the resources to do it. And if you compete by providing such things as vouchers, as you call it, some assistance. Look at what was going on in D.C. when they had the voucher program there. That you can send your kid to a better school, and it forces the school district to get better.
Yeah, and I absolutely think choice in public school is important, and I think vouchers are one way to do it. There's a number of different ways to do it, but we can't have kids that are trapped in non-performing schools
Exactly.
and not able to get an education, and they ought to have options. And they ought to have the ability to do what Boyd was able to afford to do on his own, but many people cannot, and they ought to have the same choice that he had. On the Common Core, I mean, there's another example of the federal government coming down and mandating to the states and the local communities what they ought to do with the school system, and it's again not a well thought out, not well organized program. And here you have, you don't see too many of these issues where both the right and the left both hates it. The conservative Republicans are angry with Common Core because of some of the curriculum changes that they're trying to force down. The teachers' unions are opposed to it because they have no way to implement it and don't think it'll work, and they don't have the time to get it done. It's not organized properly. So it's another example, I think, rushing something through without it being well thought out. There's no support for it, very little. There's opposition all over the place on both sides, and it's something we need to take a step back from, and we shouldn't be pushing it through.
Officers tend to use the excuse for probable cause is I smelled marijuana. Can't prove it. You can say, and that's their way of using this probable cause to then search and seize the things that they feel like in terms of automobiles, putting kids on the ground. We've had incidents like Tyrone West, as well as Anthony Anderson in the past 2 years in Baltimore City. These people ended up dead at the hands of police officers. In the past 4 years, over 30 officer-related homicides. None of them were charged, let alone convicted. Your administration, you really can't deal with the state's attorney side of it, but in terms of the policing side, the crime in the state of Maryland, throughout the state, not just in Baltimore, what would you focus on in your administration in terms of tackling crime and keeping corruption out of the police departments, not only in Baltimore, but throughout the state?
Well, there was an interesting article in the Sun. I did read the Sun this weekend.
You just said you didn't read it, son.
They started giving me the paper. They started giving me the paper for whatever reason. I guess someone told me they want to increase their saying they have circulation. But all of a sudden, I started getting the Sun on Saturday and Sunday. But there was an interesting article, and I forgot the gentleman's name. This criminologist who's coming back to Baltimore, and he has basically an interventionist type of program where you work with the different agencies and you bring in the community. And one of the things that it pointed out is that then Governor O'Malley didn't like the program and could care less.
He liked stop and frisk.
And the guy left. Yeah, that was basically what he preferred to do.
The ceasefire program.
The ceasefire program. I think that sounds like something that the state could get behind to assist Baltimore City in that and bring in the additional resources to assist, because part of it was identifying where, for lack of a better term, incidents occur or hotspots occur and intervening with individuals that, like the old Casablanca, the usual suspects. You don't have evidence that they did it, but they may know something, but you can at least calm them down, and diversion programs to get them out of that environment that, not forcefully, but to give them alternatives to that lifestyle. I think that's something that could possibly be, explored, and with some assistance on the state level. When we were with Governor Ehrlich, and Governor Ehrlich tried to do something similar to that, having the state police get involved with Baltimore City Police. Then Mayor O'Malley didn't want to have anything to do with that. And he made it a political issue, saying the state was trying to take over Baltimore City, versus, look, we're in the same business. We're really in the same business in terms of public service, and you have a city to take care of. We have to look out for the city as well as the state. And I think that's something we could do to probably better work together from the state and the human resources side, the law enforcement side, the economic development side could all work together. Again, the best social service program is a job.